According to the World Economic Forum, the most anticipated job gains are likely to be in electrical efficiency, power generation, and the automotive sector. Now that's globally. Nationally, according to the U.S. Department of Energy 2022 employment report, the energy sector employed more than 7.8 million Americans in 2021. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, the U.S. will follow the number of jobs. We'll have the following number of jobs in each relative sector, that being solar, wind, battery storage, and energy efficiency. Solar, over 500,000 to 750,000 jobs. Wind, from 150,000 to 220,000. Battery storage, from 197 to almost 400,000 jobs. And energy efficiency. The U.S. will gain over 1 million clean energy jobs through 2030. And according to Cal Berkeley, so you know it's true, no offense, UNC, but if the U.S. transitions to 100% of all electric new cars and truck sales in the U.S., it'll support more than 2 million jobs by 2035. So growth, again, that's nationally. Now, here's to our state, North Carolina. We had 204,000 energy-related workers in 2021, representing 2.6% of all U.S. energy jobs. And according to RMI, we'll gain over 40,000 new energy jobs by 2030. And we'll see growth in the solar industry from 12,000 to 19,000 jobs. Wind, and I think this seems small to me, 1,200 to 2,000 jobs. Battery storage, 3,500 to 6,500 new jobs. And energy efficiency, 10,000 plus new jobs. So a tremendous amount of growth within the North Carolina market. So we have to figure out a way to meet the needs of Toyota, who wants 2,100 people, VinFast, who wants, I think, 2,000 people, Chempower, the new firm that's in Durham, wants 300 plus new jobs. And I believe Wolfspeed, who the president was at today, which is kind of cool, which slowed up traffic a little bit, wants 1,800 new jobs. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot. So with that, I'll turn it over to my panel for them to introduce themselves, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Frank. Myself, Balu Gokaraju. I'm an associate professor and associate director from North Carolina A&T State University. Currently, I'm also leading the Steps for Growth project, which is a large, comprehensive clean energy project sponsored by Federal Department of Commerce with a budget of $24 million in 4 years. What it means is that our overarching goal is to be able to create 3,000 job placements in 4 years in the clean energy space. So the 4 major sectors that we have under clean energy, comprising of energy efficiency, what Rodney has been mentioning, they're going to go up by 10,000 jobs, even within just North Carolina. And solar, renewable energy, clean vehicles, and grid and storage. So totally, we have 4 major sectors that we are trying to place 3,000 job placements. We are calling this as good job placements, which means these are high-tech skills and high-paying jobs. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Pollock. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for a company called Blue Recruit. We are the nation's leading job platform for skilled tradespeople. You may be familiar with platforms like Indeed or ZipRecruiter or even LinkedIn. They simply don't work for tradespeople. Rather than going through a process where there's a keyword search, an ad, a resume submission, and an application, skilled tradespeople don't want to go through each of those steps. Instead, they rely upon almost a familial culture where they call a buddy who says he has a better work situation. So we got a job over here, come on over. We understood that 4 years ago when we started this journey, and we built a platform that is more friendly for them. We have 30,000 job seekers on the platform as of yesterday, or 30,742. 77% of them have a skilled trade certification. We have a number of master electricians, master plumbers, CDLs, AWS certified welders, and I've been asked to speak about the veteran presence. So 13% of our platform are United States military veterans. Our CEO, Rich Camacho, is a West Point alum who was forward deployed in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And so we welcome the veterans to the platform because we love the work ethic, the leadership, and their affinity for trades.
So good evening. Is this on? Okay. It's hard to hear from this side. So I'm Margaret Roberton. I'm the Vice President for Workforce Development at Central Carolina Community College. Prior to that, I was with the North Carolina Community College System Office. So just a little bit of perspective, North Carolina has 58 community colleges to serve all 100 counties within the state. So they have a relatively impressive reach. When you think about north of 600,000 individuals in a year go through one of the colleges, either through short-term training or through curriculum programs. And a significant portion of that is in the skilled trades arena, getting those individuals, those types of credentials, those things that are going on in this conversation. When we talk about a VinFast and a Wolfspeed, those are both in Chatham County. Those are companies that Central Carolina serves. And so, and part of my capacity at the college is economic development and workforce development. So my role is to engage with those companies, looking to see what they're needing, where their skills are going to be lining up. VinFast does want about 2,000 people in 2025. Ultimately, they'll want 7,500 for their automotive manufacturing and another 5,000 when they move into battery manufacturing. Wolfspeed is about 1,800. Add that to the 50 plus other manufacturers who are in the region, and then pull that out across the state. And when you really start then thinking about manufacturing broadly in North Carolina is very much moving in that direction as to what's going on, what skills are individuals going to need to be responding to the conversations that have been going on here for the last 2 days.
Okay, great. Well, we've got some questions for the panel. We have some questions we'll go through, then we'll have some time for some questions from the audience, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some closing thoughts if that works for everyone. So Margaret, you're up. So if you've got the microphone ready. Community colleges are often discussed as excellent places to train and launch clean tech workers. How has the community college system changed to meet current and anticipated clean tech workforce demands?
Sure. So community colleges have historically been positioned to respond to what the employer demands are that are going on. But like most higher education, for a long time, they've had advisory boards that have said, well, you bring them in, you give them donuts and you say, we're doing a great job. But that is really shifting. What we're seeing with the community colleges, whether it's business and industry leadership teams, whether it's sector partnerships, whether it's talent pipeline management, there are a number of different paths you can take towards this. But what it comes down to is putting the industry in the middle and asking the industry, what are your workforce needs today? And what are your workforce needs in 5 years? And really taking a look then at curriculum and making those changes so that you're preparing the individuals for the work that's coming, for the work that's right there in the moment. And you're really working at creating pathways. So you look at what can you create that is a short-term credential that gets someone a really great first job. And then how do you create the pathway so that it moves them on to the 2-year degree? And then for those who want to continue moving forward on to that 4-year degree so that you actually get that whole spectrum of economic mobility. So I think when you think about how community colleges are responding, it really is about that willingness to adjust and that willingness to think through what does a career path look like with all of the partners that you can bring to the table and how that adjusts. The other piece is as you know, as I said, there's 58 of them. And typically, historically, they have worked within their assigned service areas, but more and more thinking about how do they serve regionally? How do they have collaboration? So when we think about serving VinFast, we're thinking about 9 other community colleges who have service areas within a 1-hour commute of where VinFast will live. And how do we bring 9 other community colleges to the table with VinFast to have the conversation around what do they need to do to ensure that their skills training aligns to what those needs are going to be? And so I think it's that regional aspect, it's bringing the employers to the table, it's creating those pathways, and just that willingness to adjust. is really how the community colleges in general, and specifically for Central Carolina, we're really working to address those things. The other piece is partnerships, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, and not to take anything from any of the other speakers, but how do we have more partnerships to be able to say, leveraging those resources, right? Everyone's bringing something else to the table. The community colleges have deep access into their communities, deep access into the faith communities that exist within those colleges that have reentry councils, colleges that work directly with their K-12 systems. How do you bring all of that and then work with other partners to say, those are all the multiple streams, the military included, to be able to say, you need to develop a workforce and move those things forward. And then the last thing just on this particular question is facility development. You've got a lot of community colleges. If you're in this area, Wake Tech, the things that they're doing around EV and their automotive piece. Central Carolina, we have a new technology, advanced technology center that we're bringing online. It's really how the community colleges are focusing their resources towards facilities that allow them to build out the capacity to be able to respond.
Thank you. Balu? Community colleges are one important part of Steps for Growth program. What are other key pieces, the workforce development puzzle that you have identified, and how do these fit together?
Thank you, Frank, for the question. I already see that Margaret has made a good point, and it's a good segue for me to follow up and add more to that. So whatever I'm going to speak about community colleges, it is only going to reassure the value-added services and the leadership Margaret is already providing through community college. It's not only Central Carolina, but her leadership with NC Community College state system. So we identified, when we made our own organization chart within the Steps for Growth project, we have realized the sectoral strategy partnership, which is key of having a vertical leadership, like a project management role by the backbone organization, and then an educational partner and industry partner within that sector. And also having even the state and local agencies involved, we were able to identify this whole vertical sector. And we noticed that community college falls right in the middle of this whole vertical sectoral strategy. So how we notice that is we are able to leverage the new addition in the community college system in the recent years is a customized training coordinator. So having like many of the community colleges, they have a dedicated full-time individual who is working closely with the industry partners and being able to provide a customized training towards one or two industries or multiple industries in a sector. So we noticed that it's a key partner having involved the customized training partner, training coordinator from a community college, and also request and seek the services of the community colleges, such as a career support service person or a student support service person, along with a curriculum expert. When we identified all the services coming out of a community college, we were able to notice that being in the middle of this whole sector strategy, we will be able to access through the career support individuals, we will be able to access to recruit the participants. And through the customized training coordinator, we will be able to access the employer partners. So seeing that value addition coming from the community college system, it actually helped us to be able to understand the crux of having community college as a partner for this workforce development programs. So universities are there, four-year colleges are there, but they work on a different aspect of training compared to a community college bringing mainly the trade and technical skills that are timely needed for the industries in the region. So secondly, I would also like to bring the incentives and benefits that are offered through a community college system. When we thought of whether to bring a community college system as an educational partner against a private vendor, we noticed that within the state, the North Carolina community college system, there are a lot of incentives in terms of tuition waivers, scholarships that are offered through the community college system office. And especially within the community college system office, we have apprenticeship NC system. So the North Carolina apprenticeship NC system is primarily very well popular within the whole national level apprenticeship system office, and also the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce. They always look at the success stories of apprenticeship NC of North Carolina, which has leveraged it and be able to bring lots of not only new clean energy apprenticeship programs, but also a lot of industry partners also. So having these things, we were able to identify that community colleges play a very key role in starting quickly with their micro-credentials. Like even if one course could be a short certificate. If a participant can be able to stack these micro-credentials like 2 or 3 courses, it would become a long certificate. So community colleges will help in that manner to be able to stack these credentials through a continuing education certificate programs, compared to a 4-year institution where we have to go through lots of layers of accreditation, national level accreditations, even through on the continuing education practice from a 4-year institution is not as seamless as a 2-year institution. So we saw these additional advantages and we thought it is no brainer. We got to involve community colleges here. And that has become our success. We started with 16 community colleges in this $24 million project, 5 universities and close to 40 to 50 school districts. Because community colleges access the school districts in order to recruit their students. Like they go to all the high schools and also the CTE, Career Technical Education institutions. So they already do this as a part of a job. And for us, it felt like, okay, let's take some more money to them and provide and seek for these dedicated services towards clean energy sector. So it all made sense for us. And recently, Margaret, under her leadership, she joined our Steps for Growth team, and now we are very glad to increase the 16 community colleges by adding another 9. So 25 sounds a very good number for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Blue. Frank, North Carolina has over 18,000 military personnel re-entering the workforce each year. What needs to be done to connect these individuals, who are often highly technically trained, with the clean tech companies that can benefit from their skills?
Blue recruit. Well, joking aside, so one of the challenges that you have with veterans is, as you serve, there's a very clear community and a very strong culture. And many veterans just don't know the options that are available to them. So, they come out and they have a friend that does something or a family member that does something, and that's kind of the path that they follow. So there's, we need to make sure that we're, talking about these careers with folks that help our service members to transition out of the military. And the second thing, which is a bigger concern, is there's so many people who have preyed on veterans for veterans benefits. So we need to make sure that there's transparency within that process, because, you may tell a veteran about company X and like, wait a minute, is this for real or not? But in large part, it's making sure that, the exposure happens. And when veterans start work somewhere, because they're used to a culture that has a process really well defined, whether you agree with the process or not, what's supposed to happen next. And there's someone that's in front of you saying, no, you're supposed to stand right here. You're supposed to be right here. So having, those types of onboardings to ensure that they understand exactly what's supposed to be done, when it's supposed to be done, how it's supposed to be done. After that, just get out of the way. You'll have a great leader, someone who will ask questions, who's unafraid. Procrastination has been eliminated from all of their behaviors. Hesitation is working for Rich Camacho. If I leave my laptop open overnight, when I come downstairs at 6:15, there will be a message in Slack, and I can assure you it's from Rich about something he wants to make sure that we get done that day. And by that day, he means before I have breakfast.
Clean tech industry players moving into your moving into and expanding in your backyard, VinFast, Wolfspeed specifically. How do you work with industry to ensure their needs are met? To what extent do the needs of these companies drive innovations in college in the college's educational strategy?
Sure. So a little bit is what Balu referenced in that when a new company comes to the state, North Carolina's workforce incentive package really is engaging in what's called customized training. That customized training rolls through the community college that serves whatever county that is. And so in this case with VinFast in Chatham County, what it allows us to do though is take those resources and work very closely with those companies to sit down with them, with their training officers, with their plant managers, with their supervisors, and think through all the different roles that are going to exist in that company and what are the skills within those roles. So all the way, we start up at high levels and we go 7,500 jobs. Roughly 75% of them are going to need an associate's degree or less. What are the skills? What are the titles? What are all the pieces in there? And then what do we need to build, both as a vetting tool to ensure that if folks are ready, that they can walk right into those, or what are the skills training that's required to fill any gaps, to enable individuals to get into those jobs, particularly ones that are new. VinFast is the first auto manufacturer in North Carolina. That is a really big deal. And while some skills are very transferable, there are going to be some very unique things because it is auto manufacturing. And so how do we ensure that individuals have those skill sets when they walk in so that VinFast can be productive as quickly as possible? Some of it is doing things with the military. So the community colleges and the UNC system several years ago worked on a project called Credits for Courage. And what it was doing was taking a look at the military occupation specialties, so their MOSs, what are the skills they have in those, and lining those up against the college courses so that a military person coming out could get credit for those MOSs and accelerate much more quickly towards their goals. So one of the things that we now need to do then is take a look at MOSs against what the companies are telling us are the skills to work at a VinFast. So we can do the same exercise and create accelerated pathways for those individuals to get to those goals. But it's a customized training programs are a really unique way for the state to support a new or expanding company within our region and allow us to really be able to address that in ways we might not otherwise, right? It gives us those resources that the dollars sometimes just have to be there. Those specialized trainers, that specialized equipment's got to be there. So I think that's a really big piece of how we initially get in there and build the structures that then last for the years and years that a company is here. So they want ultimately 7,500, and that always gives me a little pause every time I say it. But when you have that kind of volume of employees, you're always hiring. You're always in that process. Your technology changes, but two, it's just that many people. We're always going to be training individuals to prepare them to work at a VinFast or a Wolfspeed, or in all reality, there's Caterpillar, there's, all these others that are within the space. So I think that's a big part of it. How does it drive us to change and be innovative? Is kind of what everything we've been talking about here is what's required. It's why Steps for Growth is a huge piece of this conversation. We've gone out and we've talked to community colleges in other states, right? Heartland Community College serves Rivian, which makes electric vehicles. We've gone to Alabama and looked at their research technology park on how they're responding to Toyota and Mazda. And those are great experiences, and you bring that knowledge back. But having something like Steps for Growth, which lets us look here local and then figure out how do we work with several other universities and four-year institutions, 25 community colleges, the K-12 systems that are impacted by that footprint, so that all of those individuals have opportunities. That's how you take all of that company conversation, all of that going out external of us, learning what they're doing, and then bringing it back into that structure and saying, Now, how do we do it? The how do we do it part is the hard part. And I think that's where we're at right now, is building all of that so that we can respond at the scale that we're looking at. So, we're kind of talking specific companies right now, but the numbers that Rodney was giving earlier around the tens of thousands of folks in manufacturing that are going to be within the state. These are skill sets that are transferable, whether you want to stay in the central part of North Carolina, you're going to the coast, you're going to the west. You're going to take those skills with you and find good jobs in this space. And so how do we then scale that so that I want to respond to the counties I serve at my college. I want to respond within the space of steps for growth. But ultimately, we want to make sure that this training doesn't have to be built the 16 times for the UNC system, the 58 times for the community colleges. There's 100 counties, and I don't even know how many high schools are in all those counties. Right. So I think a lot of it is really trying to crack that so that we are creating something that can be replicated and scaled, and to move all of this forward.
Great. Thank you. It's a great answer. Balu, how do you work to ensure you're meeting industry needs as you develop programs in the academy? Can you talk about some of your engagement with industry, specifically Duke Energy and Toyota battery manufacturing, and how this informs the curriculum and student experience at NCA&T?
Very good. So Frank, I would like to start with the numbers that you were describing in the beginning of the conversation. Those numbers are based on maybe last 3 months. So if you check the next 3 months, those numbers are going to double up. In my experience,
especially after this presentation.
This presentation too, right? So in my experience, working closely with Duke Energy and Toyota being the largest industry employers right now, having a wider footprint within our North Carolina state, like, for example, in the month of December 2022, Toyota told us that they're going to hire 35 maintenance technicians and 1,400 production employees. This month, in the March, when I went to meet them again, they said, "Oh, we just increased from 35 to 200 maintenance technicians we need for this year, and 1,700 production employees." These numbers go up, as Margaret is alluding to it. These numbers go up constantly, and I'm sure Frank is also noticing that with the Blue Recruit. Yes, that's a very good thing for our economy, especially as the state is now based on clean energy economy. So I would like to give a few points, especially if there are any MBA students, you would really like these points, if you could note that down. The hardest job is to keep up with the industry relations. It is very hard, very tough, very difficult, because they have their own job of bringing the job fulfilling the job placements and getting the production done within the industries. But we have to align ourselves with their needs and with their kind of scope and approach. So it's a tough, they need continuous engagement, and it's a tough role to be able to do the industry relations. So we started following 3 rules here that we started providing a cadence of the meetings to the large industry employers, and we started using that to take it down further to mid-level and small-scale industry partners too. So when we do this cadence of meetings, we identified hiring a project manager for our own project and being able to work with the project manager or a HR person directly with the employers. So we were able to channel all the communication. There won't be 10 people from our organization talking to 10 people in a large organization. That's not going to work. We all are going to run in circles. It won't work that way. So when we channeled all the communication to one point of contact at both the parties, it started working on. So we quickly introduce about our own project here, and we quickly say the unique thing that we are bringing to the table is we tell them Okay, Steps for Growth is a large, comprehensive clean energy workforce system. So the $24 million that is given to us, it is not just like incentives or benefits that we would pay for the training of the participants, or we would reimburse the wages for these participants while they're working at the industry. We don't say that. We say that this funding is given to us to develop a workforce system which will stay and be sustainable even after the 4 years of the grant period. That's what draws their attention. We are developing a system. And the second thing we quickly ask, as we already introduced, the second thing is we quickly ask, okay, we are looking for job placements. This is our ask. So along with job placements, we would like you to contribute for the curriculum development. As clean technology is a new technology, there are electric vehicle technician skills, high voltage battery service technician skills, solar grid, microgrid operators. These kind of technician skills and courses are already not developed within a community college system or a 4-year universities. These are all new. So even with the 4-year degrees, an individual has to go through a training for 3 months to be able to work in that area. So we are telling them that, okay, we would like you to contribute for the curriculum development. This is a great time to have, because industry partners always complain that universities and educational institutions, they don't teach anything what we want. They complain, right? So now we're asking them to, this is the opportunity to come to the table, otherwise you miss the bus. Then don't complain, right? So the third thing we quickly say is, what are we offering? What are our offerings and also the state offerings? Not only the project, educational institutions, state funding, and even the federal funding. We quickly provide our offers at the table. That is, we are bringing the incentives, for example, Steps for Growth. We are paying 50% of the wages during the 10-week on-the-job training in summer, like for example, internships or pre-apprenticeships. We are using that as a kind of trial period for the employer and the employee, or a kind of dating period to be able to make that commitment strong at the end of the summer for 10 weeks. So introduce, ask, and offer, do it in a 30-minute, and then they will stay for the next 30 minutes. So that's what we found. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Blue. Frank, what challenges have you seen?
Actually, before we
Go ahead.
hop into that, I just want to address something that you said. So in addition to working at Blue Recruit, I'm on the faculty at Duke University. I was the director of the MBA program at North Carolina Central. And so I've seen some of the challenge you talk about with, industry relations, but that's an integral part to make sure that the curriculum is driven properly. We were very fortunate. I was very fortunate at North Carolina Central, and Duke has immense resources where the head of external relations can go and find you alumni at any company, and they're willing to come back and get engaged. So, but your question?
What challenges have you seen in the military to workforce transition? And are there things that we need to do better to engage industry to facilitate this?
Yeah, so going back to my earlier remarks with, the challenges, number one is the cultural challenge, because if you've been an active duty service member, you've been in that community and that culture for however many years. So when you start thinking about, it's time for me to leave and go find a civilian job, you may talk to, a commanding officer or other friends. Well, if the commanding officer has been, if he's a 25-year non-commissioned officer, what in the world is he going to tell you about the private sector? But that's your frame of reference. And the folks who actually do this kind of transition work on bases, it is a disparate system. So some of them still hand out things about veterans benefits on paper in 2023. So the infrastructure for doing that is really a problem. And so while there are some folks who are more sophisticated and understand some of the nuance, that is the first roadblock. But the second roadblock, and I mentioned this as well, is getting veterans exposed, because to the point that you made about giving them credit for how they serve, what their jobs were in the military, but also with transferable skills. For example, at Blue Recruit, we had diesel mechanics who actually had the exact matching skills that folks at contract research organizations needed to help maintain some of their facilities. They were able to make that match on our platform and find those folks. So there may be a variety of jobs in the military that will transition into the clean tech sector, but until we identify the transferable skills, then there's a problem. And then the last piece of that I would say is Blue Recruit, but having a platform that is easy for veterans to navigate, because veterans understand execution. The vast majority of them, their job is to go straight forward. So having the tools and the structure in place so they can put one foot in front of the other and go ahead and knock things out.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, it's time to open it up to questions. So does anyone have any questions for our panelists?
Don't all speak at once.
Yeah. Someone once told me to ask who has the first question. That way, I don't know, gets people to do it.
So I've seen hand movement, but no question.
Your slide? Yeah. All right. Let's see if I do this right. No. Didn't. Aha. Got it.
Very good. So there is a QR code as well. There is a QR code as well on this screen, if you could get that. So the Steps for Growth, Clean Energy Workforce Development, we are bringing several internships or pre-apprenticeship programs, which is solely based on work-based learning, on-the-job training skills in clean vehicles, including electric vehicle technician skills and EV charging stations, grid modernization in terms of lineman apprenticeships, and also the solar energy, wind technician skills, and also the HVAC-based energy efficiency skills, HVAC architecture. These are all fall under energy efficiency and the green building construction. So we have several of these clean energy-based internships that we opened up for this summer. We are trying to recruit 125 participants, out of which we are hoping to have the 100 job placements by the end of the 10-week training period after summer. So the way we are recruiting industry partners and also the participants is we are asking them to have a commitment to provide a job at the end of the 10-week period, as long as the relationship between the employer and the employee works out well, because it's a trial out period. But the job commitment is going to change from soft commitment to hard commitment. And the participants also, they should not consider this as it's a good money for summer. It's like we are bringing $30 per hour, where an industry is going to pay $15 per hour. And from our project, we are paying the 50% match of it, another $15 per hour. So we are trying to weed out the participants if whether they are fully committed to take a job placement. So we are highly recruiting the graduating seniors of a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree or even a high school. That's what we are looking into.
And a couple follow-ups to that, and this is with my professor hat on as opposed to my startup hat. In working with industry partners, you have to make sure that it is a workplace that is comfortable accommodating multi-generational interactions. A lot of people, I'm 53 years old, a lot of people my age don't appreciate this, but a college student today was born not too long after 9/11. Our nation went through a terrific trauma. has lived through 2008 and 9 and has lived through COVID. And they haven't finished college yet.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, as an adult, I had an emotional skill to address these things. But young people today deal with anxiety because of a barrage of, they're addicted brilliantly by technologists to a barrage of images and messages. And so the combination of these things means that they struggle to advocate for themselves. They deal with anxiety at a different level, and they aren't as proficient as communicating. And so in recruiting a partner, you have to make sure the partner has an infrastructure to give that young person opportunity to establish themselves, to build confidence in their capability, and then to deliver some success. And I think all that is the difference between, because every university can go out and recruit companies, every company can offer a job. There's a big difference between that and having a successful internship program that leads to a student coming back on campus and saying, as a, from freshman, sophomore to junior, saying, oh, I had a great experience here. And that is what you really want.
That are available, and it's great that, and it's wonderful that I think the bulk of that probably will be in skilled trades and don't require a college degree, but for those that do require it, help know kind of what the fields are. I'm kind of assuming they're not all technical, but it'd be helpful to know the range.
Right. If you would like to know which are non-technical but still will fall around the new advanced manufacturing or clean energy industry, those would be lots of project management, kind of like even an analyst. Like, for example, a solar site analyst need not have to completely come from electrical background. They could be coming from even a finance perspective of it to be able to analyze what would be the costs of identifying a new site and having the production, the dollar versus each megawatt that they are raising out of that things. So project management, we saw industrial systems and engineering who can provide Lean Six Sigma and all. So the 4-year degrees we have seen construction management, civil engineering, architectural engineering. Yes, apart from electrical, these are some of the fields I could certainly identify. Chemical engineering, maybe in the battery sector, yes. But the number of chemical engineers for battery sector is less compared to the battery service technicians, especially in terms of safety technicians that they're looking into. So I wouldn't be surprised if a 4-year graduate is going to go and take the same job against a certificate participant. Mm-hmm. Also, with a starting salary, these are all good paying jobs. With a starting salary of anywhere between 60 to 70K and going up to 100K in 5 years, we are seeing that this is a highly possibility, even with the solar energy industry, what I have seen.
No, I mean, I think you're particularly looking around those 4-year degrees, but when I think about a 2-year degree scenario, particularly our transfer students who are moving from the 2-year on to the 4-year, one is we do a lot to build those relationships with industries to allow for work-based learning. We have a very intentional structure so that they have opportunities while they're still with us to have some work experiences, preferably with a couple of different companies. So they get some ideas of, it may be manufacturing, but there's lots of manufacturing. It may be in different spaces, different kinds of companies, things like that. But when we're thinking about our transfer students, I think, very much like Balu was talking, we have, the vast, array of students who are coming through a different variety of engineering programs, data analyst programs, things that are really, how do individuals manage different things, move different things forward? A lot of creative thinking, really trying to work with some young people on how do you have those creative thinking opportunities so that you're able to take a problem and decide all the different paths it might be able to take And so some of just those intangible skills and how do you give opportunities for that?
And I'll chime in on that too, from seeing a lot of clients and what they request for types of resources and things of that nature. We've seen a significant uptick, and some folks may agree with me, is on supply chain. Folks that are specialists in supply chain that have experience in that, which is what a lot of these large organizations are highly challenged with. And I've worked with clients who have gotten, you talk about creativity, who have gotten extremely creative in their supply chains and how they go about getting things and where it comes from and where they source from, and multiple different, they've expanded what they did, how they do it, and things like that. So that's definitely another field that, certainly if you have the opportunity, there's a definite need for it. And I don't know if it's just a short term, but I would imagine that it will continue to be a need for a lot of these clients who are sourcing for a lot of different folks. So.
We were talking earlier about being a good workplace, a good workplace experience for an intern or a new graduate. As an employer, what kinds of advice would you give me in creating it?
Yeah, so let me, that's a complicated question. So let me unpack that a little bit. For more traditional four-year degree holders, I think you have to start with that relationship on campus. So, for example, in my class in innovation entrepreneurship over at Duke, we have alums that come and speak and actually start interacting. And we've had students that have already followed up and said, hey, so they've started that conversation well off campus. Okay. So, and that was in January. So the same student has been over to the alum's office. They've been out to lunch. And so, they've built a little bit of bond of trust. But the difference with the millennial generation and then going into Gen Z is everything works both ways. It used to be for my generation, it very much influenced by the military. We give instructions, you follow, and loyalty is a one-way street. It's a two-way street with younger generations. The flip side of that, though, is when the younger generations understand how much you care about them, and when you use the phrase pour into them, they will be extremely loyal to you. I have students from when I taught in 2008 and 2009 who still are, in contact with me. One of them almost hit me the other day because he hadn't seen me long, so he pulled over to, say hello. So now, if we transition to folks who are in skilled trades, and so they've gone through, an associate's degree or some type of certification, those are very different environments. There's going to be some politically incorrectness. There's going to be some salty language and those kinds of things. So it's preparing both sides that, the young person might be a little more fragile. So let's, be cognizant. And this is the environment that the person is growing up in. Now, the flip side is that young person needs to be really skilled and have something to contribute as quickly as possible. So, I have, one of my good friends, his son is a welder, and he's a very introverted young person. But he welds in the language of welding, he welds dimes. They are pristine. And so, the crew that he works with are like, we don't understand you, but good gosh, can you weld? So that's kind of the two different paths. But the broad strokes are making sure that the older generations understand that the rules are going to be a little bit different, and that these young people have a different kind of freedom, because they're 20-year-olds on Instagram and YouTube making 7 figures today. There are, folks in skilled trades who are very young on Instagram who are, have influencer deals. I know because I've written them checks. So, making sure that they, put their arms around the young person and say, let me show you how this works. And then, when they screw up, give them the same grace that they would like, maybe not as loud as, you would have in the past. So Does that give you, I guess, an appropriate appreciation for what that environment is? And I see some younger folks nodding their heads, so maybe I did hit, a good line of thought there. Yeah, the importance of climate. I mean, certainly everyone here is acutely aware of it, and I'm here in shorts, and it's March, and so we're seeing some of the, I guess, temperature, but not necessarily climate, as the distinction is drawn. But offering that outlet and a genuine opportunity to make a difference and to address these things is extremely important. My generation, we kind of talked about it. But at the end of the day, great big salaries and suburban living and SUVs, they won us over. Okay. So, then when you looked at kind of the next generation, the millennials, it took things much more seriously. Gen Z, this is real. And so, while there is climate anxiety, at the same time, the level of sophistication and understanding of the issues, because there's much more transparency. So like, the book Cradle to Cradle, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it was written when I was in my late 20s, if I remember correctly. And so, this was the first time I'd ever seen concrete information, not just, a magazine article, but actually like, here's a business-friendly solution that relies upon innovation and forethought to address this problem. And so by giving, tools like that to young people, I think it helps them manage that climate anxiety. Go ahead.
Start, and then I'm sure Frank's got some on that, but from a community college perspective, we do a lot of work with individuals who are career changers or they're returning to the workforce. So they may have started their life in one particular environment, and maybe it was in service or in hospitality, and they're trying to think about what is that next thing that really allows them to move forward, or they just want to change, or they've been out for some reason. A lot of folks who during the pandemic came out of the workforce. We are slowly starting to see a lot of those individuals who looked for alternative means, were successful with alternative means of income during that space, thinking about returning to that more stable environment of what it might be called a more traditional work environment. But they're also looking for new skills. They want to do it in a new and a different way than what they were doing before. And so a lot of what we do, if you look at particular programs, so I think about our life science programs that we run that really focus on, whether it's Fujifilm Diosynth or it's Pfizer, whomever, the average age in our program that moves along that is about 30 years old. So it is somebody who's coming back in and thinking, what am I doing with my career? Though I just talked with one of our students in our laser photonics program who's 44. And she's decided she's done with what she's doing and had been doing that hasn't gotten her where she wants to be. So she's now in the laser and photonics program and moving things forward in that way. So I think those individuals, those adults who are looking for those opportunities are absolutely part of who we serve and individuals that we actively bring into the college to look for opportunities.
Yeah, and if I understood your question, it was really about people who from older generations interacting with younger people. Is that? Yeah. So so the struggle really begins with looking outward and listening. And at a certain age, like when you're in your 20s, you know everything. I knew everything in my 20s. As I've gotten older and the world has humbled me, I know a lot less. And so it's become easier for me to listen and to engage at a different level. So, and like I have a 22-year-old that works on my team, and he explained to me what to have motion means and to have Riz. And I was like, what in the hell are you talking? But, the fact that, he felt comfortable enough to say that to me was an example, because, I've worked with my background is heavily corporate and, high level consulting. So, this was him coming out of his shell. And so the hope is that those people that you mentioned have been out of the workforce for a while, who are older, recognize that and then, enjoy that engagement.
I would like to add two more points. Yes, in our Steps for Growth project, we are also catering towards non-traditional students, which means the participants that could be anywhere age between 16 to 25 and need not have to be a traditional student with a high school degree. We are catering to them using Department of Labor Workforce Initiative Opportunity Act. We call WIOA, VOA funds. We are able to use that to engage those kind of older adults. And also anybody after 25, we are still within the Steps for Growth. We have several of the wraparound services that we could provide. And as long as those individuals qualify under the income criteria that is within the Department of Labor, we are catering towards those kind of older adult participants. That could be towards upskilling or reskilling the trades. For example, the first two participants that joined our Steps for Growth project are math school teachers, math elementary school teachers. They wanted to change the career to clean energy, which looks like a high-paying job and high-tech skills. They thought they could do it. And they wanted to change their late 30s, and they wanted to change their trade into that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, I think we're coming up on the end of our presentation or our panel discussion. I think maybe if we can just go to each panelist, and if you have one closing minute, if you remember nothing else, remember this from today. So, Margaret, we'll start with you. You got your minute on the clock.
See, I was hoping I'd be last. And so I guess the thing is there are tremendous opportunities coming in clean tech and what's available in the state, and really looking for where those opportunities are and whatever path gets you there. So it's internships, it's through the community college, it's through the 4-year, whatever that looks like. And it's likely going to change, right? Whatever it is you go in today, it is going to look different in 10 years.
Yeah, so I'll take this from, two perspectives. For the younger people who are thinking about their career options, I would say find the intersection of what you love to do, what you're good at, and what the market will pay you for. Understand that is going to change radically in your lifetime. If you look at, I'm sure you've heard of Chat GPT, generative AI. Okay, I write for a living. I got a problem. But, skilled trades are one place, and the clean tech sector is one place where that's not going to be a problem for a while. For, the folks who are further in their careers, remain open to experimentation and opportunities, and find ways to explore things as quickly as possible.
My comments are going to follow what Frank has alluded to. No, that's a good segue. So I would recommend, especially for the youth and who is looking into getting into the workforce, we certainly notice that you feel more sense of obligation and responsibility towards climate and as well as the sustainability of the Earth system, right? So being adaptable is a very important key right now with this technology, and also the skills that you're going to bring into the real world environment, especially the work environment. So being adaptable means explore the adjacent sectors that you're bringing to a job place. Like if you're coming with the environmental skills, do not have any apprehension to know around what's happening in terms of advanced manufacturing or a lean manufacturing or a project management, those kind of things. So these are all adjacent sectors that will help you to be more dexter with your skills that will work much better in this current fast changing technology. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys very much. Thank all of you for presenting. Really appreciate it. And if you have questions, I'm sure panelists would be open to, if you want to grab us one-on-one or anything, but thank you very much and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks everybody.